Hi, you're listening to the Alchemy of Alignment. This is our podcast for people pursuing purpose. I'm Suzy Sanders, your host. I'm the founder of Alchemy Virtual Assistants, and I am also a business coach. And I've got a really treasured guest here today. But before we crack into this episode, I just want to express three really brief, but by no means small, nuggets of gratitude. Firstly, I am grateful. I'm immensely grateful to you for being here and connecting with us in this way. I would also like to express a little shout out to this podcast sponsors. Digital design experts D-Type are supporting us in getting these messages and incredible stories out. So thank you to Sam and the D-Type team. And lastly, but not least, I am immensely grateful to Kim Hughes, who's the founder and director of Goldings Communications, who's given up her time to speak with me on record today. So, Kim, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Well, we were just chatting before we hit record, and I'm going to ask you to introduce your business, if you don't mind, because Goldings Communications, I am very familiar with, and that you are a PR agency, but you've got a real special way that you do things. And I want those words to come from you, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, you're right. I mean, we are Goldens Communications. It's my company. I set it up in 2021 and we are PR and reputation management partners. We're based in Northamptonshire, but we work with clients all over the UK. And we specialise with businesses and organisations that are making a social or environmental impact, helping them, I guess, to be better known for all the things that they're best at. And that's whether that's through the media, through awards, helping them with their crisis communications. Hopefully that never needs to happen. And also strategic storytelling. So a whole range of PR services is what we offer.
Oh, thank you, Kim. I couldn't have done that justice. And equally, I love that bit, helping, I'm assuming, purpose-driven businesses and brands become better known. So I'm really, really excited to have you here so we can crack into this, because obviously we want to hear your story, but you are in the business of storytelling as well, and showcasing and shining a light on various other incredible organizations. And that is what this podcast is about. So thank you for being here. And shall we dive straight in?
Yes, let's. I am nervous. I told you that. I am nervous, but also
Oh, Kim, well, please don't be. Please don't be, because, well, I'm glad that you are, because that kind of means you care. That's how I
yeah.
take that. But it's my job to be nervous about this, not you. This podcast is about shining a light on people and their purpose. And I would like to start, and I'm going to ask anyone that's listening today, if they want to take this as a reflective question as well, please do, because it's a really good one, even if I say so myself. So, how is your relationship to purpose playing out for you today?
So yeah, I mean it's a big question. This is a big question around and purpose is a big question also, isn't it? I mean, like, why are we here? Why did we set up our businesses? What
Mm-hmm.
are we living, honestly to ourselves, truly to ourselves? So how is purpose playing out for me? So I'll link it a little bit, I guess, to the business. And when I set it up in 2021, I've done a lot of work on myself around kind of, well, really why I set it up and also what I want to get out from it. And it was so I set it up in April 2021, and then in December 2021, I probably without even realizing, I probably started asking myself, actually, what is the purpose of this? What am I trying to get from this, without really realizing it. But I started thinking, who do we work best with? What clients do we work best with, and kind of why? And that's when we drilled down to, all right, at the time it was just myself. There's four of us now, but just myself. What I wanted to work with businesses that are purpose driven, and they were businesses that were making a social or environmental impact, businesses or charities or not for profits, different organizations. And fundamentally, it comes down to two things. One, they have something to say. They've got, they're making a difference. So they want to be shouting about that. But also, personally, from myself, the purpose was that it was what I was interested in. They were making a difference, and it was my way of kind of giving back a little bit. So I wasn't necessarily driving these initiatives ourselves, but our way of giving back as a business was to help them shine a light on what they were doing. So yeah, so purpose for me is giving back, I think, and making a difference in that way.
Oh, Kim, thank you for sharing that. I love that. And the importance of that self-discovery and that doing the work on yourself is often talked about in online spaces, offline spaces. It's a really important journey, isn't it? My own experience is speaking here. So to hear that process quite early on in your business, and I love that your business exists to kind of give back to other businesses that are giving back. Have I got
Yeah,
that right?
yeah. Fundamentally, because they've got something to shout about.
Mhm.
They're doing good things, and yeah, that's really what it came down to. Now, it's not exclusively the case, but those are the businesses that we try and proactively try and work with,
Yeah.
and so far that strategy is working. We've got some fantastic clients, and we're helping to promote the things that they're doing. Is really worthwhile and really rewarding, and makes you feel good. So
Yeah.
hopefully that, yeah, kind of links back to like the business, but also, yeah, my purpose as a person. That giving back is important.
Yeah, and you mentioned some really great other things there, and I'm going to ask. I'm guessing you've said they're the things that drive you, but with that kind of, what is important to you in continuing to pursue your purpose? Is it safe to assume that working with the right people, the aligned organizations, is that a really big thing for you?
Yeah, it is. So in terms of like going back to kind of work as well that we've done, is around our core values as a business. And what we started to see once we developed those was actually there are clients that aren't probably, or have had clients in the part that aren't probably aligned, and everyone has them, but they don't really think actually why is this, and fundamentally it comes down to you're not aligned, your values aren't aligned, and so yeah, that's another, I've forgotten what the question was.
I've forgotten what the question was as well. Don't worry, don't worry. It's about, I suppose, what I'm trying to ask and understand is it's about what moves you and
Mm.
are aligned, and you know the things that are important to you. It's easier and more fulfilling to get where you're going. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. When you have that clarity and you're also collaborating or working with other people, you know, you it's not an echo. I hate that people use like the phrase echo chamber, and you want to surround yourself. Of course, you do want to surround yourself with people that are aligned with those values, but also people that aren't, because then it makes you, it reinforces what you're all about, doesn't it? But yeah, I think it, having that clarity just makes life so much more bearable and yeah, and purposeful, isn't it, really? And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. I love how you've described that with the use of the echo chamber, because it's funny, isn't it? I wholeheartedly believe we should be connecting and aligning and supporting ourselves with the right people. But then life and business is a beautiful balance and a beautiful harmony, isn't it? Because you're right. You've just opened my thinking then. If you are only surrounded by those people,
Mm,
where's the growth? Where's the lessons? Where's the challenges?
mm.
Um, so Ooh, I knew I was going to enjoy chatting with you today, Kim. So we know each other and we have done for many years, and we openly and frankly speak often. But what helps you when you're feeling a bit overwhelmed? Assuming that you do, if you are in your business or your life, because I know you're a mother like I am, and like all the admin that comes with kids. So,
Hmm.
are there any things that really help you if you are feeling a little bit out of kilter?
Gosh, yeah, I mean, we do go back a long way, and we have had these conversations, and of course, you know that I do get overwhelmed a lot. You know, we all do. I procrastinate about things. I, you know, have the imposter syndrome and all these things, and it is overwhelming at times because you're juggling life and family and business. The things that most recently have really helped me is meditation, and I take time to do that. Now, I never ever used to be good at this. I would have been the first person that says, oh, I can't switch off my mind, but we've got lots of different apps that are available to us, and things that are free on even YouTube and Spotify. So I make time for that to meditate. Yeah, for sure, that's one coping strategy. Another thing that actually used to be a non-negotiable, and then when I set up the business it dropped. And I definitely see when I don't exercise regularly, that has a massive impact as well on my well-being and mental health. So those things, the meditation and the exercise when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, if I take time away to do that, but also to sit with your emotions as well, and why you're feeling like that. So that is also another really important, and this is literally only in the last, I'd probably say 6 months, that I've got really good at doing this. Prior to that, I would have just either carried on or brushed it to one side, the feelings. But now I'm like, no, actually, why am I feeling like this? And like I said, it's probably maybe even the last 3 or 4 months that I've got really good at doing that now, and I've learned a lot about myself since taking that time. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just try and take a little bit of time, step away a little bit, and think, why am I feeling like this? What is really the underlying issue here? And then you try and you work through it. So yeah, those are I know other people that journal. That isn't, I haven't really gone down that route. Maybe that's something else for the future, but those are my kind of 3 coping strategies really for when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing them with us, because I mean, I'm trying not to over identify with what you're saying now, but the whole kind of slowing down, taking time, sitting with things is something I know I have really struggled with in the past. So it's so important, isn't it? I think the more responsibility, the more pressure, the more there is piled on, in my personal view, the importance of those things just becomes more so. You've got
Yeah.
to make the time. The more busy you are, the more pressured you are, the bigger the feelings, like the higher the importance, in my view. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
And also, I mean, it's well publicized at the moment, women of a certain age, that things start changing and happening, and suddenly in the last couple of years, that's also become way more noticeable, the brain fog, and it's difficult to say that that's got anything to do with hormones and time of life, or if it's just the fact that kids are growing up. I've got 3 kids at 3 different schools, and and all that stuff, so it's really difficult to say. But I definitely think there is something there to do with hormones and change and things that are happening as well. So it's really important now more than ever, I think,
Yeah.
to make sure that we look after ourselves, and because otherwise that overwhelm's just going to keep happening, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's really lovely to hear you speaking so frankly there, because I mean, sorry if this is oversharing, but I'm going with it anyway. But hormones are a big deal, right? And I say this as I'm going to quote a geriatric mother. My daughter at this moment in time is nearly 2, and my journey breastfeeding her has it has ended very recently. And my goodness, the hormones and the physical and the mental and the emotional impact of that entire season of my life, which I am immensely grateful to have been on. But once upon a time, maybe us women would have been celebrated for those seasons instead of, I think there's change coming because, as you say, the different seasons of our lives and the hormonal changes and perimenopausal and these different things are becoming more spoken about.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think the impact is not, we've still got a lot of conversations to have, haven't we? I
Oh,
think.
totally. But it is changing, and even like my kids are much more aware of things that we never talked about when we were young, and so that's really positive. But I think also just going back to the whole motherhood thing, and not even in relation to hormones, but just like changes. Motherhood's a whole just constant change, isn't it? It's one milestone after another, and then if you have more than one child, you have to go back and then do it all
Mm.
again, and back and do it all again. And that's really hard. And I feel like, yeah, I'm still very much in it. My eldest is 14 and my youngest is 8, and then my middle one's just started secondary school. So there's it's just a big mental load constantly, and you're constantly juggling, aren't you, all these different things.
Yeah, and do you know what? I often joke with one of my friends that we say it tongue in cheek, and maybe it's inappropriate, but the whole concept of it taking a village to raise a child,
Mm,
and we often text each other when we're having those moments because I've got quite a large gap between my two in terms of my boy will be turning 8, my little girl will be turning 2, so quite a big age gap. I had forgotten a lot of the newborn nitty gritty, but we always joke like, when's the village arriving?
yeah,
And I'm immensely grateful for the support network I have and that I've built, but we often joke about that, like,
yeah.
when's the village arriving? But you're right, the mental load, the practical, like the logistics that are involved and the expectations that are involved with being a mother,
Mm,
and then you decide to start a business as well.
I know.
And I celebrate that beyond what I can express now. I really do, because every time I've had a baby, I've started a business. But it's a lot,
Yeah, it
right?
is a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot. And actually, do you know, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Suze, but you were quite fundamental in me deciding to set up. We must have had this
Oh,
conversation.
don't say that. No,
But you
well,
really want, yeah, it's all your fault. Thanks. Um, yeah, no, it what yeah, I mean, in terms of, yeah, when I decided to do it, it was off the back of COVID, and and that had a big play in it. And I mean, I've been in PR for over 20 years, and then thought, actually, now's the time to set up the business. And I don't know what it was that I don't I can't pinpoint exactly what it was, but you were definitely, involved in that, in my decision process, whether you knew it or not,
oh,
in terms of inspiration and that, for sure.
oh, now I'm embarrassed. No, that's lovely. That's lovely. Thank you. And do you know what? I'm sure we probably have had that conversation maybe over a glass of grape juice or something. I don't know, but that's
I
another.
can't remember.
That's probably why I can't remember. But it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think in terms of people and things that inspire you, that's one of the questions I try and ask myself when I'm fit. I mean, I get overwhelmed all the time. I'm a big
Mm,
emotional. I have a big capacity to feel, and and that does hinder me sometimes. But one of the things that I like to check in with myself if I'm feeling it a little bit out of alignment is actually, like, what are my actions impacting, or who are my actions impacting? And that's a question I like to ask myself, because
mm,
I mean, show me a business owner or founder that hasn't had a day that they want to give up. Like, I think we all do from time to time. We
yeah,
feel that way. Prove me wrong. If anyone's out there going, I haven't, let me know. But I think it's running a business is a real steep mountainous climb
hmm,
sometimes, and that's one of the things I like to know. I'm like, actually, what impact am I making? Because that's definitely part of my purpose. So that's
mm,
really lovely to hear. Because we
yeah,
forget how closely our stories are interlinked, and that's why the concept and this podcast has come about, because I want to be able to have these conversations with people. So
yeah.
what else inspires you to keep going on your purpose driven adventure?
Well, sometimes I do have to really think about that, because you're right. I mean, it is a roller coaster. It is, and I am open and honest when I talk to people, other people, that, oh, I want to set up a business, and it isn't definitely not plain sailing, or for the faint-hearted. It
Mm,
is hard work, because it's very, and I probably naively didn't really appreciate this either, but you're so in it, aren't you? You're so attached to, it's like your baby, that sometimes it's really difficult to have that separation and take a step back and think, yeah, like what impact am I making, or what is the best decision here, and that's really, really difficult. So yeah, I mean, what keeps me going is knowing that I want to, yeah, do a good job for people, and make a difference, and having that at the, even when I have a bad day and I feel like, oh, it's too hard, I can't do this anymore, it always just comes back to that again, and you know, and that's there at the underlying, even on the
Mm.
bad days, is, and that's what keeps me going. Then the next day, you know, another new day, and I always know, you know, I go to bed and I think today's been a really, really tough day, but I know I'll feel better about things tomorrow. I might not have resolved whatever the issue is or whatever, but I will feel better about things, and I can take a step forward. So it's having that ability to just keep picking yourself back up again, isn't it? And but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Oh, well, I mean, if it's, I know it's not needed, but I'm going to just express my appreciation to you, because I know, I mean, you said earlier when you started the business, I know what you've achieved in such a short space of time, and the impact that your business has is clear. So thank you for keep picking yourself back up. And I think it's funny, isn't it? Because when I'm really fortunate, we attract a lot of amazing people within both of my businesses. But if I'm thinking about Alchemy virtual assistants and people wanting to start their own virtual assistant business with us, not everybody gets it that I speak to. And one of the key things that I look for that resilience, is, I think
Mm,
that mental resilience is something that I always look for, because you're right, it's not for the faint-hearted, this business journey, is it?
no.
um but I think it's about supporting yourself first, and then building that support network around you, which I know you've done.
Yeah, yeah, that's really important. And I went into it, I don't even know if I went into it knowing that's what I needed to do, or it just kind of, like, I just, I'm probably not just explaining my, you know, like, did I subconsciously know, or was there did I purposely do it? And I don't know if I did purposely do it. I just automatically wanted to make friends, really, in business world, and yeah, associates that then you could rely on. And that's what I did. So joining networking groups and having a support net is so important,
Mm,
because otherwise you do feel so alone. There's not, you know, you haven't, until I had a team. You know, you don't have a team to bounce, so you're just like,
mm,
and every day is a step forward in a new, into the unknown, isn't it? Every day is, yeah, it's not like a job where you have that support network already made for you, and you're stepping into known territory. It's always going to be new. So yeah, it is really important to have that support network, and I do now have a
yeah.
really, really great network.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I didn't consciously, I mean, I completely echo what you said there about the importance of that support network. And I don't think that was something that I consciously created when I started Alchemy Virtual Assistants. It was very much, I want to connect with clients, and
Mm,
naturally just built those relationships off
mm,
the back of that. It wasn't a conscious decision. Whereas I was talking about this on LinkedIn recently, I very much see my network as a bit of an insurance policy, because you never know what trusted relationships you need. You never know who you're going to need to call on until you're kind of, as you've said, every day getting up, it's a new day. There's risk to manage, there's people to manage, there's projects to manage, there's so much to manage. You never know who you're going to need to call on. And that's definitely something that has shifted for me over the years, that the importance of that network beyond just
mm.
bringing in business.
Yeah, that I've heard that a lot actually as well, when people do start businesses and do start networking. You go out and you just think, oh, it's to gain clients,
Mm,
for sure, and you don't then realize actually there's a bigger picture here,
Mm,
and yeah, and you just don't realize how valuable that can be.
yeah. And it's funny, isn't it? Because the team having, you mentioned they're having a team to bounce ideas off. But I know some people I know that found that when they start growing their business with people, that it almost gets lonelier because
Yeah,
there's so much more responsibility and there's so many things that aren't, you can't lean on your team for, or perhaps don't know how to. And
yeah,
in my experience, so many purpose driven business creators haven't always had that experience of building a team, recruiting, HR, managing. Like your business kind of drives itself. Like, I've compared my business to in putting a parenting lens on it. Like my business is in that horrible teenage years at the moment, and the similarities there. But I've kind of lost my point of where I was going with that. I think it was about the as your business grows, that responsibility can impact in the feeling of loneliness, and the feeling of overwhelming can definitely
mm,
intensify. Would
mm,
your experience
definitely.
complement that?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I yeah, the bigger you get, the more it is, the more responsibility, and yeah, I mean, I've had sleepless nights in the past of things that you wouldn't have had to have worried about if it was just me on my own still. So yeah, things definitely get harder, the more you grow. And I was, well, lucky enough, but also sometimes I think, oh gosh, maybe it would have been nicer to have grown slower. But we did have some rapid growth in the second year, first, yeah, end of first year, and then into the second year. So yeah, it's been a tough old learning curve for sure.
Well, I'm going to attribute that growth, that rapid growth, because you are insanely talented and you're incredibly good at what you do. Don't shake your head.
No, I know.
Don't shake
I
your
do
head.
though, because that feels really uncomfortable when people say that. I don't take compliments. Right.
Oh, well, I'm I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to scoop this conversation up because we are coming to the end of our episode here and our time together. But just to kind of honor what you said about as the business grows and as things get bigger and things getting harder and the steep learning curve and the entrepreneurial mountain climb, how significant is your purpose in keeping you on track?
I think it's with that, until we started this conversation, I perhaps didn't even realize myself, but when I just going back to picking yourself back up again, and what is it that makes you do that, it probably is that wanting to do a good job, wanting to do a good job for our clients, but also, yeah, making a bigger impact. I guess that's the fundamentally really the purpose, isn't it? And that's what drives you. So yeah, that's it. That's the
Thank you, Kim. Oh, I appreciate you and your openness, and I'm immensely grateful, as I hopefully expressed clearly at the start of this episode, for everyone that is here connecting with us as well. Because this podcast is all about purpose, and it's all about shining a light on the amazing people who are taking on those challenges and learning and growing. So, Kim, thank you for
Thank you.
being so open with me today. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and I hope our audience has enjoyed listening as much as I have talking. So thank you all for being here today, and I trust that you'll take what you need from this episode. We're going to drop some links in so you can connect with Kim, and if this episode has spoken to you, please feel free to share it and tag us in so we know what you found most valuable. So, Kim, thank you for being here. And just as a bit of a wrap up to this episode, what one piece of advice would you like to share today when we're just marinating in all those lovely things we've talked about today?
Um, Gosh, does it sound a bit, just to never give up, really, to to get to always want to pick yourself back up and start again, and however hard it is,
Mm.
just keep, yeah, driving towards towards your purpose. It's all about that, isn't it? It really is.
Thank you, Kim. Some solid advice, and I know I'm going to carry that with me today. So, I'm Suzy Sanders. I've been your host. This is the Alchemy of Alignment podcast, and we're all about purpose. Thank you for being here.